There are only a few hours left before one of the most exciting matches of the final round of the 2026 World Cup group stage is played. Let's go straight to the schedules. In Spain, the match will be played at 10 o'clock p.m. In Portugal, it will start at 9 o'clock p.m. In Ecuador, where the whole country will be watching La Tri, the ball will start rolling at 3 o'clock p.m. In Germany, the match will start at 10 o'clock p.m. In Mexico, the match will kick off at 2 o'clock p.m. Central Time. In the United States, since the match will be played at the New York, New Jersey Stadium, it will start at 4 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. In the Central Time Zone, it will be at 3 o'clock p.m. In the Mountain Time Zone, it will be at 2 o'clock p.m. And on the West Coast, cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, or Seattle can watch it from 1 o'clock p.m. In Canada, Toronto and Montreal will be able to watch it from 4 o'clock p.m., Winnipeg at 3 o'clock p.m., Vancouver at 1 o'clock p.m. If you're following us from Colombia or Peru, the event will start at 3 o'clock p.m. In Venezuela, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Chile, it will begin at 4 o'clock p.m. Meanwhile, in Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil, the kickoff will be at 5 o'clock p.m. And in Central America, fans from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica will be able to enjoy the match starting at 2 o'clock p.m. Meanwhile, in Panama, it will start at 3 o'clock p.m. So now you know, set your clocks properly because this is not just any match. And now we come to one of the sections you ask us about the most in all these videos, where to watch the Ecuador versus Germany match live. Because depending on the country you're in, the broadcast changes completely. Let's start with Ecuador, where the excitement is at its peak. La Tri is playing for most of their chances to qualify, and the match can be watched completely free on Teleamazonas. Additionally, it will also be available on D Sports, DGO, and Paramount Plus for those who prefer to watch it through digital platforms. In Spain, the match can be watched on Televisión Española's La One, completely free to air. It will also be available on RTV Play to follow from any device and on DAZN Mundial, which offers complete coverage of the World Cup. In Portugal, the match will be broadcast by Sport TV. In Germany, fans will be able to follow the match through ARD and ZDF, the two public channels that share the German national team's matches during this World Cup. If you are following us from the United States, you will have two main options. In English, the match will be broadcast by Fox. And in Spanish, it can be watched on Telemundo, as well as on the platforms Fox One, Fox Sports app, Fubo, and Peacock, so you can follow the match from any device. In Canada, the broadcast will be handled by TSN, CTV, and RDS for the French-speaking audience. If we go to South America, almost the entire continent will have the DS Sports signal, although several countries will also offer the match on free-to-air television. In Argentina, it can be seen on Telefe, TLC, DS Sports, and DGO. In Chile, it will be available on Chilevisión and DS Sports. In Colombia, the match will be broadcast by Caracol Televisión, RCN, and D Sports. In Peru, it can be followed on America Televisión and DS Sports. In Venezuela, on Televen and D Sports. In Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia, the main option will again be D Sports, accompanied by national operators with broadcasting rights. If you are following us from Mexico, the match can be watched on Sky Sports, ViX, and the platforms that have the World Cup broadcasting rights. And for all fans in the United Kingdom, the Ecuador versus Germany match will be broadcast for free on BBC One and can also be followed through BBC iPlayer. So now you know, it doesn't matter which country you're watching us from because you'll be able to follow one of the most exciting matches of this last round of the group stage. Ecuador is fighting to stay alive in the World Cup. Germany wants to confirm their bid for the title. And when two teams come in with so much at stake, we usually witness unforgettable matches. And right now, we're going to analyze how both teams are coming into the match, what Ecuador needs to qualify, and why Germany doesn't want to relax, even though they've already secured a spot in the knockout stage. And once we've gone over the schedules, let's get to what really matters, how Ecuador and Germany are coming into this truly great match. Because even though both teams have a lot at stake, the reality is completely different for each side. Let's start with Germany. The team led by Julian Nagelsmann comes in as one of the standout teams. At this 2026 World Cup, the Germans have had an almost perfect start. They made their debut with a resounding 7-1 win over Curaçao, making it clear from day one that they are one of the main contenders for the title. On the second match day, they beat Ivory Coast 2-1, a much harder fought victory that allowed them to mathematically secure qualification for the round of 16 with a perfect record. But Germany doesn't just want to settle for qualifying. The goal is to finish as the leader of Group E and reach the knockout stage with their confidence intact. Nagelsmann also knows that finishing first could lead to a better matchup next round. That's why not too many rotations are expected, even though they already have their tickets secured. The Mannschaft is showing a very solid version in all areas. Defensively, they have barely conceded any goal-scoring chances, and in attack, players like Jamal Musiala, Kai Havertz, Florian Wirtz, or Dennis Undav are constantly making a difference. Germany is once again giving off that feeling of being a powerful, intense, and tremendously effective team that brought them so much success for years. Ecuador, on the other side, is facing a real must-win match. La Tri hasn't had the World Cup they wanted. In their debut, they lost 1-0 against Ivory Coast in a very evenly matched game that was decided by small details. Later, they drew 0-0 against Curaçao, a result that seriously hurt their chances of qualifying. Right now, Ecuador only has 1 point and practically needs a win against Germany to keep their chances of advancing to the next round alive. However, within the Ecuadorian camp, no one considers the elimination a lost cause. The coaching staff's message throughout the week has been very clear. If they manage to compete at the highest level and take advantage of their chances, they can surprise anyone. In addition, they know that Germany has already qualified, and that could lead to some changes in the starting lineup. All of Ecuador's hopes will once again rest on players like Moises Caicedo, the absolute leader in midfield, Piero Hincapié, one of the team's best defenders, or Gonzalo Plata, who is expected to make a difference in attack with his speed. The team needs to recover the finishing touch they've been missing in the first 2 matches if they want to have any chance of taking down one of the big favorites for the title. Therefore, the stage is perfectly set. Germany wants to confirm its leadership and continue sending a message to the other teams aspiring to win the World Cup. Ecuador, on the other hand, is facing a real all-or-nothing situation. They can't afford to speculate. They need to win and also hope that the result of the Curaçao versus Ivory Coast match goes their way to keep dreaming about the goals. The round of 32. What does each team need exactly? Germany's situation is simple. With 6 points from 2 matches, the Mannschaft is already qualified for the round of 32. A draw would be enough to mathematically secure first place in Group E, although Nagelsmann has insisted all week that his team will go out to win. On the other hand, Ecuador faces an almost impossible mission. Ecuador needs to defeat Germany and hope that the result between Curaçao and Ivory Coast allows them to qualify, depending on the other score. Goal difference could become a deciding factor, convertirse en un factor decisivo. Therefore, Ecuador cannot settle for a narrow victory if the other result goes against them.